Welcome to News Beacon, your trusted source for breaking headlines, global insights, and sharp analysis from around the world. If you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. Apple's global success is inseparable from its deep ties to China. Over the past 2 decades, China has become the beating heart of Apple's supply chain, powering the company's meteoric rise from a niche computer maker to the world's most valuable tech giant. The story of Apple is, in many ways, a story of globalization, of how design, innovation, and manufacturing can come together across continents to create products that shape our daily lives. For years, Apple designed in California and built in China, fueling its rise to a trillion-dollar company. The seamless collaboration between Silicon Valley's creative minds and China's vast manufacturing might allowed Apple to scale at an unprecedented pace, delivering millions of iPhones, iPads, and Macs to eager customers around the globe. But today that partnership is more of a golden handcuff, profitable, yet restrictive. Apple's fortunes are now so intertwined with China that breaking free is almost unthinkable, even as the risks mount. Geopolitical tensions between the US and China have put Apple in a precarious position. The world's 2 largest economies are locked in a struggle for technological dominance, and Apple finds itself caught in the crossfire. The company is squeezed between Washington's security concerns and its dependence on China's manufacturing and consumer market. Every move is scrutinized by both governments, and the stakes are higher than ever. Any misstep could have massive consequences. A single policy change, a new round of tariffs, or a diplomatic spat could send shockwaves through Apple's global operations and rattle investors worldwide. Apple's reliance on China is twofold. It needs China to make its products and to sell them. China is not just Apple's factory floor, it's also one of its largest and fastest-growing markets with millions of loyal customers. Moving production risks supply disruptions. Shifting even a fraction of Apple's manufacturing to other countries is a massive logistical challenge, fraught with uncertainty and cost. Angering Beijing could mean losing a huge market. The Chinese government holds significant sway over Apple's fate, and any miscalculation could result in store closures, regulatory crackdowns, or public backlash. Apple walks a tightrope, with every decision shaping not just its future, but the future of global business. The company must balance innovation, profit, and politics in a world that's more unpredictable than ever. The world's supply chains are being redrawn, and Apple's next moves will be watched closely. As companies everywhere rethink their global strategies, Apple's choices could set the tone for an entire industry. This story is about more than business. It's about survival in a new era of strategic competition. The outcome will shape not only Apple's destiny, but the future of technology and trade worldwide. Apple's dependency dilemma is at the heart of its existential challenge. The company must decide whether to double down on its China ties or risk the upheaval of forging a new path. The choices it makes now will define its next chapter. Every contract signed, every supply chain shift, and every diplomatic gesture will echo for years to come. The stakes couldn't be higher. Apple's next steps will not only determine its own fate, but could reshape the balance of power in the global tech industry. Apple's move to China was a calculated decision. China offered a massive, skilled workforce and unmatched flexibility. Factories could scale up overnight for new product launches. Beyond labor, China built a dense network of suppliers, all clustered near assembly plants like Foxconn's iPhone City. This proximity enabled rapid design changes and efficient production. The government supported Apple with incentives, infrastructure, and a stable environment. Over 2 decades, Apple invested billions, helping create a manufacturing powerhouse. The result, a finely tuned ecosystem capable of producing hundreds of millions of devices with speed and quality. This deep integration makes leaving China daunting. Apple didn't just set up shop, it helped build the modern electronics industry there. The scale, skill, and support China offered were unmatched. That's why Apple's roots in China run so deep. Replicating this elsewhere is a monumental challenge. China isn't just Apple's factory, it's a cornerstone of their global strategy. It's one of its biggest markets, contributing significantly to its revenue. A booming middle class turned the iPhone into a status symbol, making Greater China a major revenue source. The aspirational value of owning an iPhone has driven sales through the roof. Chinese consumers pay a premium for Apple's brand, fueling high-margin sales. This willingness to spend more on Apple products has been a key factor in the company's profitability. Local rivals like Huawei and Xiaomi keep competition fierce, so Apple must stay close to the market. This competitive landscape forces Apple to innovate constantly and adapt to local preferences. Manufacturing in China signals commitment, building goodwill with both consumers and the government. This local production not only reduces costs, but also strengthens Apple's ties with the Chinese authorities. But this creates a conflict. To stay in China, Apple must comply with local laws, sometimes at odds with its values on privacy and free speech. This delicate balance often puts Apple in a challenging position. For example, Apple stores Chinese iCloud data locally, adhering to regulations that require data to be stored within the country, and removes certain apps to meet regulations. These actions are often criticized but are seen as necessary for continued operation in the region. These compromises are necessary to remain in the market. Apple's ability to navigate these complexities is crucial for its sustained success. Losing China would mean billions in lost sales and a major blow to Apple's global standing. The financial implications would be severe, affecting stock prices and investor confidence. The stakes are high, and the balance is delicate. Apple must tread carefully to maintain its foothold in this critical market. Apple's presence in China is both an advantage and a vulnerability. Navigating this complex relationship is essential for the company's future. Moving Apple's manufacturing out of China isn't just about building new factories or finding new locations. It's about unraveling a deeply woven fabric of relationships, infrastructure, and processes that have been meticulously built over decades. The scale and complexity of this operation are staggering, and the challenges go far beyond what most people imagine. Apple's supply chain in China is a vast, integrated network of suppliers, logistics, and expertise. Every component, from the tiniest screw to the most advanced chip, is sourced, delivered, and assembled with incredible efficiency. This network is the result of years of collaboration and investment, creating a system that's almost impossible to duplicate elsewhere. Take Foxconn's Zhengzhou plant, for example. It alone employs hundreds of thousands of workers operating around the clock to meet Apple's demands. No other country can match this scale, speed, or the ability to ramp up production almost overnight. Alternatives like Vietnam and India are making progress, with new factories and growing workforces. But right now, they can only handle a fraction of Apple's massive output. Their infrastructure, supplier networks, and skilled labor pools are still developing, and it will take years before they can even come close to China's capabilities. In China, the supply chain is tightly clustered. Factories, suppliers, and logistics hubs are often just minutes apart, enabling just-in-time production and rapid adjustments to any changes in demand or design. This proximity is a huge advantage that's hard to replicate elsewhere. If Apple were to move assembly elsewhere, it would add significant cost, time, and risk. Many components would still need to be shipped from China, creating new logistical challenges and potential delays. The global supply chain would become more fragmented and less efficient. The expertise of China's workforce is another critical factor. Generations of skilled workers have honed their craft, mastering the art of mass-producing high-quality devices at incredible speed and scale. This level of know-how can't be replaced overnight. Training new workers in other countries would take years, and there's always the risk of quality issues during the transition. Building up this kind of expertise is a slow, painstaking process that requires time, investment, and experience. This collective know-how forms a virtual Great Wall around Apple's production, protecting its secrets and ensuring its products meet the highest standards. The complexity and cost of leaving China are truly staggering. It's not just about money, it's about time, risk, and the potential for disruption at every step. Apple's deep roots in China, from government relationships to long-standing business partnerships, make a quick exit nearly impossible. Untangling these connections would be a massive undertaking. The ecosystem that's developed in China is unique in the world, and not easily rebuilt anywhere else. It's a delicate balance of suppliers, logistics, and expertise that took decades to perfect. That's why, despite the challenges and risks, Apple remains anchored in China. The ties are simply too strong and the advantages too great to walk away overnight. In China, Apple must navigate a shifting political landscape. The government wields immense power, using regulations, licensing, and even public opinion to influence foreign companies. Apple complies with censorship laws, removing thousands of apps and partnering with state firms for data storage. Regulatory pressure can favor local competitors or slow Apple's product launches. Beijing doesn't need a formal ban to make life difficult. It can impose taxes, restrict capital, or investigate suppliers. These tactics create uncertainty and make leaving costly. Apple is effectively trapped by a web of rules and informal pressures. The political risks are as real as the economic ones. A rapid exit from China would be disastrous for Apple. Its production capacity would collapse, leading to global shortages and damaging its reputation. Financial losses would be massive. Billions in assets abandoned, stock price plummeting. China could retaliate by banning Apple products, seizing assets, or restricting key exports. The fallout would ripple through the global tech industry, forcing other companies to reconsider their China strategies. A sudden break would trigger economic and political chaos. For Apple, a hasty exit isn't just risky, it's self-destructive. The company's success is built on its China ties. Untangling them overnight would unravel everything. The only viable path is gradual change. Shifting production would impact millions of Chinese workers, many of whom rely on Apple's supply chain for their livelihoods. Massive layoffs could destabilize entire regions. New manufacturing hubs in India or Vietnam would face steep learning curves, risking product quality and brand reputation. Apple's oversight of labor and environmental standards would need to be rebuilt from scratch. The human cost of a sudden move would be immense. Managing quality and ethics across new supply chains is a daunting task. Apple must weigh these risks carefully. Apple isn't standing still, it's quietly pursuing a China Plus One strategy. The goal: diversify production to India, Vietnam, and beyond, reducing reliance on China. India is assembling more iPhones but faces infrastructure and regulatory hurdles. Vietnam handles AirPods and some iPads but can't match China's scale. Diversification is slow and complex but necessary for resilience. Apple will keep its core production in China for now, while building up alternatives. The process is gradual, balancing risk and stability. Moving too fast could disrupt operations. Too slow leaves Apple exposed. This is a long-term pivot, not a quick fix. Apple's future depends on getting it right. Apple's future in China is uncertain, but a sudden split is unlikely. The most probable outcome is a slow, managed separation. China remains vital, but its dominance will fade. India and Vietnam will take on bigger roles, creating a more resilient supply chain. The transition will be complex, testing Apple's operational and diplomatic skills. Navigating political sensitivities and building new ecosystems will require billions in investment. The era of frictionless globalization is over. Strategic competition is the new reality. Apple's journey will shape the future of global business. The outcome depends on business decisions and the unpredictable tides of geopolitics. Apple's story is a symbol of our changing world. The next chapter is being written now.